least we won't.
Right.
We're live now.
Yeah.
Hi.
Yeah. Hey, y'all.
Hello, audience.
Yep. It is live right now. All right.
All right. You gotta do the thing.
Yeah, I gotta do the thing. Good morning, Aurora. Good morning, Aurora. Good morning, Aurora.
Good morning, Aurora.
Yes. The time is 7:59 a.m. and you're listening to Jenettesplaining. We back Friday.
We're back.
Yep.
And I don't feel like death anymore.
Yes. So Jenette survived.
Jenette
Moderna.
survived.
That's what it was?
Yes, I had the Moderna vaccine. The first dose I had, I was fine, except for this phenomenon called COVID arm, which is where your arm gets a little like puffy and red, like
Right.
weirdly 8 days after you actually get the vaccine. And then it goes away a day or two later. And then I got my second vaccine, and that was hell. That was awful. It was awful. I felt deathly ill, and have a newfound appreciation for all of those people who got COVID really early on in this pandemic and felt like they might die.
Right.
And that lasted for about a day. During which we did our last episode of this podcast.
That's right.
And I attempted to sound alive.
You were a trooper that day.
I was going
You were
for
a
it.
trooper.
I put all of my energy into that, and then got home and just like passed out for like 20 hours, which was great. Sometimes you need a reset, you know.
You do, yeah. But you're back.
But I'm back.
Glad to have you.
And I'm here to tell you, like, even if you might feel like death for a day, just plan to take that day off, right? And go get your vaccine anyway.
So before we get into the news, what is your overall opinion on the efficiency of the whole vaccination process in Aurora?
In Aurora.
Yeah.
So I think I haven't been to one of the MassVax sites yet. I think you've been to one of the MassVax sites here. Yeah. So you can talk a little bit more about the specifics of Aurora. But the idea, like, now that we've got these MassVax sites going, and once they've got a flow, and once everyone's able, you know, yes, it's a pain in the butt to try and get an appointment, right? To like be one of the first people in line. Basically, it's kind of like everyone waiting for an iPhone. Yeah. But
seriously, it was like they were looking for Jordans out there.
Right.
It's crazy.
I've never attempted to buy Jordans, but I have attempted to buy an iPhone. But yeah, like that's a little bit of a monster right now. But it sounds like once you're in line, you know, once you've got the appointment, then it's all kind of working.
Right. Yeah.
I think that one of the big challenges is going to be the second dose stuff, right? Because if you're getting a 2-dose vaccine, you've got a window for your second dose.
Right.
It's got to be like at least for Moderna, it's 28 to 42 days after your first dose. For Pfizer, it's 21 to 42 days after your first dose that you have to get the second one. And so that's going to be a little bit of a trickier nightmare because, like, then it's suddenly like, oh, I don't just got to get in. I got to get in this window, sort of thing.
Of course.
Now, to anyone who's worried about that, if you miss the window by a few days, still go get your second shot. It's just like, ideally, you want to get it in that window.
Right.
So that's going to get tricky. But it sounds like things are starting to move a lot faster. The National Guard has been called in, right, up in Batavia.
That's right, and we got news about that, y'all. We do. Real quick, so just a good morning to you guys out there. It's 8:03 a.m., and you are listening to and watching Good Morning Aurora, the second largest city's first daily news podcast. This is Jenettesplaining, though. See what I mean? This is Jenettesplaining, and it's a lot of fun, and we are here downtown on a nice sunny Friday. So, good morning, everybody. All right. So let's get into the news about the MassVax site that's happening in Batavia.
Let's talk about MassVax. Let's talk about reopening. We've got some news about that. All of this is good, guys.
Right.
All of it. It's all good.
It's all good. We'll take it.
But yeah, it'll be okay. All right. So first, the big news is that the governor made some announcements yesterday.
Right.
And the biggest thing is that starting April 12th, everybody in the state of Illinois who is 16 or older will be eligible for a vaccine. Yay! This is snaps. snaps, like my sorority sisters. That's what we would do.
Why not?
Yeah. Everybody 16 or older will be eligible. That doesn't mean that everybody's going to be able to go and get one on day one because we still have supply issues, but it means that everyone will be able to at least like have a chance to sign up, right? So regardless of your health issues or anything else. This is amazing news because it means that we will be able to achieve some sense of herd immunity and thus some sense of normalcy sooner rather than later.
Right.
So the other announcements that he made were kind of like what we're working towards as a state. Mm-hmm. So so right now we're in phase 4 of COVID restrictions. And if you've been following this, and I can't imagine why anyone would, because unless you really have to, because it's just so bureaucratic and crazy. But there's 5 phases in the Restore Illinois plan. First, phase 1 was like lockdown, like stock up on booze and stay home.
Yes.
And then phase 2 and 3 and 4 like kept opening more and more and more. We're in phase 4 right now.
Right.
You'll remember there were phase 4 with tier restrictions, and then it was different based on your kind of like your region.
Right.
And so you were in region 8 and in Restore and in phase 4 with like tier 3 restrictions. It was just a bureaucratic nightmare.
And then I remember there was some angst because there are people in certain parts of a region that didn't want to be bound to the region.
Yeah, so you'll see like there were places where Kendall County was originally in the same region as like all of Chicagoland, and then the regions got split up again so that they could get moved into a region that was more like with Grundy County and all of those places. So yeah, which Kendall County is a weird county because it's really urban in one area and really like totally rural in the rest of it. So.
Frog in the corner and he go right. Crambo.
Yes, which I still don't get that reference, but I saw that somebody else did, so I guess it's legit.
Tracy Duran won that shirt.
The governor yesterday announced a bridge from phase 4 to phase 5, which is completely open, but if we have to, we'll shut you back down again.
Okay.
And the way for us to get there is a bridge. Now there's a bridge. There's so many things happening with this plan.
What's that thing about selling people bridges?
I don't know. But there's a bridge. He's not selling it. He's just giving it away. But you have to... In order for us to get there, basically in order for businesses to open more than they already are, so higher capacity limits inside, events outside, probably singing in church again, we need to get 70% of our 65 plus population, so our older folks.
75% of our 65 plus population.
70%.
70%.
Yes, okay. I know. There's a lot of numbers flying around.
There is. This is crazy.
So many numbers. So yeah, you need to go convince grandma or mom, to go.
Or auntie or
whomever, the dear old people in your life, or even the not so dear, but you really want to go to a restaurant again.
Tell them there's no microchips.
Yes.
Jenette's a robot in here, y'all. Good morning to Tracy Duran. Good morning to Jen as well. Good morning, Greg. Good morning, Diesel. Good morning, everybody. And good morning to Chad Dawes. Shouts out from Treadwell. Good morning to Daniel Yang and the entire Prodigal Network as well.
Continuing on with the rest of the announcements of this whole press conference thing yesterday was that we moved to full phase 5, which is no restrictions. We can maybe take off our masks if the CDC says it's okay. We can have parties again. Yeah, they've kind of set aside the mask thing as we're just going to go with whatever the CDC says. So, which is fine. But full, everything open. Yeah, you can go to concerts. Maybe Riot Fest will happen in the fall. Like these kinds of things. When 50% of Illinoisans have at least a first dose.
Ooh.
So yes.
50%?
50% of Illinoisans. So in Kendall County right now, I know the stats on that. At least a full dose.
Right.
I don't know what the stats are up here. I have to take a look, but I can do that. We're not there, but opening it up to 16 and above, everybody, right, will get us there.
Oh, yeah.
Getting the doses will get us there. The only thing that will stop us from all of this happening is people saying, I don't know if I really want one.
Yeah, right.
Don't be that guy.
Yeah, don't be that person.
Or that gal.
Don't, right, that individual.
Don't be that person.
We're at yesterday's mass vax site between the time of noon and 5 o'clock. Your favorite radio host was there, volunteering and helping people. And it was quite an event. I like the efficiency behind it. Shouts out, let's all get vaccinated. Let's all do our part to get back to the ability to see concerts. Shouts out to Bleak 182, the last concert I saw.
That was the last concert you saw?
The last concert
was it in 1998 or
no?
Okay.
Yeah, they're taking it back. It's Flashback Friday on Jenettesplaining, y'all.
It usually is. It's usually
yes,
I usually say something that gives away my age.
All right. I just wanted to read one quick thing for the folks, though. So in regards to Batavia especially, the mass vaccination site in Batavia is opening today for all of our residents who meet the COVID-19 eligibility guidelines. That's much earlier than the anticipated April opening, and there are discussions underway with the National Guard about establishing sites in Carpentersville and Elgin. The three sites provide central locations for the country's more than 546,000 residents to be vaccinated.
Yeah, so now at this point, the only thing that is going to hold us back is how many doses we thing. So
word up.
Yeah, and the more Johnson & Johnson vaccines we get, the faster this goes, because that's a one day, everyone just gets, you get the vaccine and then you're just done. It's a one and done.
38, so before, now, we're going to get into some news items, but $38 million in American Rescue Plan funding.
We're jumping to that?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, let's do a little bit of that.
Okay, let's do a little bit of that. So, you will all recall that you just got fat stacks in your checking account from the IRS, maybe even this past week.
We're going to hit y'all with the Cash App and the PayPal. You can send that.
Yeah, you can just, if you would like to support your very favorite podcast, you can check out goodmorningaurora.com and just make a little contribution.
That's right.
Some of us got to eat.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you will recall that you probably got your stimulus check already, or it's coming very soon. I got mine, I think, yesterday or the day before, or something like that, right? The country are also getting a stimulus check. So, but they're cities, so they're bigger.
Damn. So the whole city gets a stimmy.
The whole city gets a stimmy.
Mayor Urban, what's up? Where that stimmy at?
Right. And, it's based on a number of things, based on, I think, probably population and how much you said you lost, due to COVID and all of these things, right? There's a formula, because there's always a formula. And in Aurora, that number is $38 million. So we're just getting $38 million to go into the city's coffers and to be used. And so, as in all things in government, right, there will be specific things that we're allowed to use that money on. But if you recall our discussion from a few weeks ago about how Lori Lightfoot didn't just take all of the COVID money and give it to cops, right?
Yeah.
There's also always a shell game happening, right? Where, we get the money for one thing and we kind of move things around to fill the budget holes, and we say that the money came from pot A, but I guess it came from pot B, but really doesn't matter. It's all just going into the same place and then getting distributed. So we're getting $38 million from the city. And our question to the listeners today is, what would you do if you had $38 million in this to for the city of Aurora. Like, if you're mayor for a day, and you're like, $38 million just showed up, and I wasn't expecting it. What do you want to do with that?
Let us know in the comments. If you were mayor for a day and you had $38 million with which to do what you wanted for the city of Aurora, what would you do?
Now, what I'm going to do to help you jog some ideas is, and let's be clear that you can say whatever you want, because I don't think that. We are brilliant, and so are our listeners. But I'm going to put some of that figure into perspective, because for most people, $38 million is not a real number. So the city's budget this year was about $477 million in expenditures. So that's total what they had planned to spend in the budget this year. $477 million. So to put that in perspective, if you make about $40,000 a year, which is pretty average for an Auroran, it would be like getting a $3,200 check out of nowhere that you're not expecting. So it's not nothing, but it's also not like, I can retire now. So
right, yeah,
it's about 8% of the overall budget. So so that's kind of what we're. And I also want to give you some perspective of what things cost in government, because when you're talking about an organization that is so large, and you're doing major infrastructure projects, major infrastructure costs a lot of money.
It does.
So if we are so thinking about things that cities normally buy, a bridge. So the Downer Place Bridge, we replaced that, and maybe it's been several years ago now. But when we replaced that was about $6.8 million. So about $7 million to buy a bridge. It's about $100,000 a year per employee when you include in all their benefits. So if you wanted to get a bunch more staff, it's a budget for about $100,000 a year in perpetuity.
Word of the day.
Perpetuity. A new water tower, like the water tower that exists, that's been there for a long time at the corner of Randall and Indian Trail, that's about $5 million to build. Get this, $100,000 just to paint a water tower.
That's crazy.
Isn't that crazy?
That's insane. $100,000.
It sounds insane until you're like, well, I guess I can't just go to Menards and pick up some latex paint and get at it, right?
Yeah. I'm good for 20 feet, but who's going up to the top of the shit?
Right, and that's the other thing, right? So it's specialty paint because it's got to be anti-rust and all of these things.
Right.
But then it's done by the union painter guys, because it's not just scaffolding. They're basically rappelling off of this giant terrifying structure.
Union painters cost money.
Right, but it's also a highly skilled thing, because if you just put any idiot up there, right, he's gonna fall off and die, and then
my cousin can paint that day. No?
Yeah, right. You're gonna have a lawsuit on your hands. So it's about $100,000 to paint a water tower. If you wanted to buy a Bearcat for the police department, they already have one, but let's say
they needed another one.
Yeah, let's say they needed to bust down more doors. I don't know. That's about $250,000 or so to buy one of those brand new. I think the one that they've got. Last time I rode around in it, it was actually a repurposed truck, so I don't know if it cost them that much. But if you want to just buy one new, use your DEA funds and buy some surplus military equipment, that's about the ballpark. Every year we pay a police pension obligation of about $3.5 million. So this is kind of a big one, because one of the things that has most cities most stretched in their budgets is that you have a police force, they're entitled to a pension, but if you don't, it's like your own 401k. If you if you don't start saving until you're 50, then you've got to put an awful lot of money in to not eat cat food when you're in retirement.
Right.
And that is a problem that's happening in communities across the state of Illinois. Some communities are such that all of the property taxes, 100% of property taxes, are paying just for their police pension liability.
Damn.
Yeah. So,
That's crazy.
so we could like toss money into the like kind of pay ahead sort
Right.
of thing, or set it aside. And here's my favorite, guys. $38 million. I did the math on this. The capacity of Hassett House, the full capacity of Hassett House, if they have a place completely booked, is 250 people on a given night.
Mm-hmm.
You could, with $38 million, rent a $700 apartment for every person in Hassett House for the next 19 years. So
Damn.
yes. So you could theoretically take that $38 million and put it to some like different things. You buy a lot of little different things. You could also concentrate it into just like one thing.
Right.
And like end chronic homelessness, right?
In Aurora.
In Aurora. So like I also did the math. So when we're talking about homelessness, lots of different issues at play, right? And lots of different kinds of homelessness. Like you'll have people who just fail to make rent in a month and get evicted, and so they're kind of between homes. So it's like a temporary situation. You also though have the chronic homelessness issue, and that's only about 10 to 15% of people who are homeless experience chronic homelessness.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the guys that you see that are like that have basically been living at Hassett House for many, many, many years. That you see on the streets a lot, right? And who can't manage to stay out for a variety of reasons.
So where Hassett House is a revolving door for them.
Right. And so that's about 10 to 15% of the population. We could take those guys, put them in permanent supportive housing for the next 138 years. So
very good perspective with these numbers.
So we are going to talk about some other issues in downtown Aurora, outdoor dining and all of these different things. And,
yes.
You know, whenever you have that outdoor dining question, people always say, well, I don't know who's going to want to dine outside in Aurora because if she's homeless guys, they're going to come up and harass you and blah, 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 which A, has never happened to me when I've been dining in downtown Aurora, so like slow your roll. And B, could be solved by just like giving these guys a place to live. I don't know, you know.
Right. Low hanging fruit.
Low hanging fruit.
Fucking easy. Yeah.
Yeah. So permanent supportive housing is one of the evidence. It's one of the evidence-based approaches to homelessness that has been proven sort of time and time again to just work and to end up actually being cheaper in the long run. Because what happens is you have a person with mental health issues, you have a person with substance abuse issues, you have, you know, or just put for all of the different contributing factors that might cause a person to end up on the streets permanently.
Right.
And that takes resources from the city, right? The cops get called, the fire department gets called, like all of these things, right? You got the paramedics picking these guys up, taking them to the hospital, and they get treatment for whatever, and then they end up back out, right? And then it's just like this cycle.
Mm-hmm.
Costs the city a lot of money to do that. What we could do is just give these guys a home so that they're then like not wandering around all day, you know, and then
a lot productive.
Yes, and then what usually happens is you see improvements in the issues that are contributing to the homelessness. They've had a lot of success with it. The initial reports are really overblown about like, oh my god, they just ended homelessness, and that's not entirely true, but huge amount of success, something like a 70% reduction in the amount of like just permanent homelessness.
Damn, that's awesome.
That's right.
So we have some community shouts.
Community
before
shout-outs.
we get into our next news item.
Okay.
Now, real quick, there is a blood drive coming up Monday the 29th of March at 1 East Benson, Gallery 1904, which is the lower level. It's from noon to 5 p.m. and it's hosted by our wonderful representatives of the 83rd, 50th, and 84th District Hernandez, Keith Wheeler, and Stephanie Kipowitz.
Oh, look, by partisanship.
Yep, there it is.
On blood.
Yep.
That's all it takes.
Sign up. We provided the sign up for you guys on Facebook, so make sure that you do that. It's firstt.org/IL. Every donor will save up to 3 lives. Shouts out.
That's right.
All right. And also, on April 2nd, that's the first Friday coming back, you can play video games for free.
I'm just happy that First Fridays.
Yes, they are returning. They are returning, you guys.
That's the best news ever.
So shouts out to the Aurora Downtown group for taking it to virtual and making it virtual when the pandemic started. It was really cool. Good way to keep up the engagement and good way to interact with new people. A lot of new blood came out of that.
Yeah.
So this first Friday coming up from 6 to 9 p.m., you can play video games for free with our friends of Windy City Game Theater.
Oh, okay.
It's a huge, big truck
Okay.
full of TVs, full of PS5s and Xboxes.
That's kind of fun.
Free, and it's sponsored by Lofshy and Associates, attorneys, realtors, and developers. Shouts out. And Do Good with Burritos. So a great local nonprofit called My Superpowers
Okay.
is having teaming up with Chipotle at 1167 North Eola Road, Suite 105, this Saturday, so tomorrow from 4 to 8 p.m. We post the flyer for you guys. Your purchase, 33% of those proceeds, will go to the My Superpowers Foundation, which...
Oh, he's got a book.
I got a book,
He's
y'all.
pulling the book.
It's really cool. It's a guided journal, and it highlights SEL, which is social
Emotional learning.
Yes,
yes. Very good.
So yeah, this is really cool, and we interviewed Stacey Montgomery, the founder of this great nonprofit. So
fabulous.
we posted the flyer for you guys. With that flyer and the code that's on there, you can save.
So go get some Chipotle.
Go get some Chipotle.
Also, they have cauliflower rice now, and it is really good.
Jeanette's
so
been
like,
on a cauliflower.
I am on a cauliflower. Like, look, cauliflower is great, right?
It is,
like
yes.
you can substitute it for wings if you don't eat chicken. You can substitute it for rice if you're like doing the low carb. Don't do keto. Don't do that to yourselves. I like you more than that. You don't need to do that. But like, if you're cutting back on carbs, this is fine. Like, the cauliflower rice. They spice it really well. So.
And then also, one more thing for you guys, that Sunday, from noon to 6, there's another pop-up show at McCarty Mills. Shouts out. Our great friends, Devin the Artist, Jen Ingram of Jen Ingram Art, and Marty Del Valle will be there from noon to 6 p.m. Hot Vine Brewery is is featuring the food of this pop-up. McCarty Mills is located at 140 South River Street, Suite 108, right across from the Aurora Public Library.
Across from the library.
Shouts out.
It's like our favorite block in downtown Aurora.
Oh yeah. You can catch
coffee.
Oh yeah.
Beer.
You can catch your radio
You'll
host.
find us.
Yes, we're out there. We are out there.
We're there. A lot.
And if you go to McCarty Mills on a Sunday ever, consider the breakfast pizza is to die for.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's really good.
I've had that once.
Yeah, it's not too bad. They got beer mimosas too, but those are good when it's really like kind of hot outside.
Yeah, it's too chilly for
Yes,
right now. Can I just say, I want to criticize every like IPAs and like the hoppy juicy stuff, and I'm not saying I don't like that. I love all that stuff. It's great. But in winter, I want a stout or a porter. Like,
Yeah.
It's been stout and porter season for months. And like it'll be like one on the menu, and everything else is an IPA.
I think American and brew lacks a lot of beer etiquette.
Yeah.
I do believe
like,
that.
You need,
I do believe that.
I'm like, I need something other than a Guinness in the winter.
Yeah.
I
mean, it's snowing and people out here grabbing Pilsners and all that.
No,
it's like,
that is a summer drink.
Yeah.
That is a getting plastered at a baseball game drink.
Yeah.
In the winter.
Kane County Cougars, shut up.
I need something. I need a beer I can chew.
Right, yeah. I need that first sip to just warm me up all the way down.
Right, even though it's cold.
Yep. All right, so moving on to Craft Urban and the G. You know what? Let's expanded outdoor dining.
Expanded outdoor dining. So, very briefly, the city has decided that. Actually, I guess it is fine if we let people eat. some reason in our government. Part of it was our sidewalks are not super large, you know, and they're not real wide in downtown Aurora.
Right.
So there were some concerns, like legitimate, like entrance egress concerns in a lot of spots. Because, like, you know, there's traffic and homeless people, and I'm like, people really like to eat outside.
Yeah, they do.
It's a thing.
Yeah.
And then suddenly
the Valley patio alone.
Right. Even though that thing is always like the bugs from the dam nearby are just like guys, because it's great for not killing fish. So, but yeah.
Sarcasm popping on
the
Jenettesplaining.
people,
This is the greatest.
Like, look, dams kill fish. Just, well, we don't need dams anymore. We don't get our hydroelectric power from the river.
Right.
We just don't. So, anyway, a tangent for another day. People like to eat outdoors. And then we were thrust into this pandemic where you had no choice, and then suddenly the city kind of figured out, like, oh yeah, I guess we could probably let people eat outdoors. So now we're doing that, which is great. I'm really happy for that. So they have expanded some of the options, loosened some restrictions for how you can get your restaurant can get approved to have more outdoor seating, which.
Three types, according to city officials, is an outdoor dining area created out of parking areas or rights of way, so restaurants can expand dining options. Those are those. The city last summer created such spaces for restaurants, as Jenette just told us, and this year they want to continue to expand the practice. Last summer's outdoor seating program was extremely successful, said Trevor Dick, the city's development strategy and facilitation director. We heard a lot of great feedback from not just restaurants and bars, but people who ate and drank at the establishments as well.
So credit to the Beacon for their fine reporting on this issue.
Shouts out.
Shout out to the Beacon. So more pleasing to the eye. You know, it'll allow restaurants to actually think about putting money into outdoor dining infrastructure rather than having giant traffic barriers there, maybe having the pretty planters and like the little gated things like you see in Chicago all the time, where, by the way, there's also traffic and homeless people, and yet people still like to eat outside.
Right.
So this is great. I'm a fan of this. You know, the more too that we can. Here's where I'm gonna sound like a hippie.
Oh
Get ready. So, you know, every downtown ever, every suburban downtown ever in particular, has the parking issue. Everyone. The door of wherever it is that they're going, and expect to have that spot every single time. Mm-hmm. Everyone is entitled. They feel entitled to the parking like immediately adjacent to the business they want.
Right,
and then businesses feel entitled to the parking spaces immediately in front of their businesses being reserved for their people, like for their customers.
Right.
And I get it, because we're suburbanites and we don't like to actually walk and things. But there's plenty of it. Part of it is all in the parking decks. So if, in Jenette's humble opinion, which is not worth anything.
Well, she's splaining right now, so
She's
it's worth a lot.
Maybe it's an okay thing to experiment with letting them take a few parking spaces and actually like have that outdoor, interactive, engaged vibe. And maybe we could just make the parking decks free.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah.
That would be good.
Because currently the parking pays for the maintenance on the parking deck, and I'm not saying that there's no cost to maintaining a parking deck. There absolutely is. They require maintenance to not crumble.
Right.
But it could be a real investment in our downtown community to say, like, we've made the parking decks free. Come shop in downtown Aurora. You can park free here, right?
Oh, hell yeah.
You see that in most suburban communities, right? You go to Naperville, all the parking is free, even in the parking decks. And it's just a way of saying, of removing as many barriers as possible to keeping people from coming to downtown Aurora and spending money.
It would seem like an administrative no-brainer, would it not?
You know, different cities take different philosophies for how they want to pay for certain things. Sometimes everyone just recognizes salaries for people, salaries for your finance people or whatever, you know, or all of that. But sometimes they take a philosophy of, this is what's called an enterprise fund. That's actually your vocabulary word of the day.
Enterprise fund.
Enterprise fund.
Okay.
So
switching it up, y'all. Switching it up. Enterprise funds.
So for example, like water and sewer, water is usually an enterprise fund, which means it's kind of, we sort of run it like a business. So the expenses, so the people who buy the water are the customers. Anyone who gets a water bill is a customer. And they pay for it, and then that pays for the actual maintenance infrastructure. So it's all kind of one type. Other tax dollars aren't going towards the water system. It's just paying for itself based on what we charge for water. That's really common in cities across the area. But I get and so that sort of principle has been applied to our downtown parking decks, and I would just throw it out there as an idea and say, you know, maybe this needs to be thought of more as an economic development tool, or like just a function for the public good. Like, make the parking decks free, take up some of the parking that does exist in downtown and happens. See if it changes the vibe of downtown Aurora. I feel like it might make it a little more lively.
Good morning to Norma Peterson. Good morning to Leticia Millen as well. Good morning, guys.
Hi.
Hello there. So you guys are having a great morning. I can already tell, and I know Norma's probably sipping on her Dunkin' Donuts. Norma, yeah. Norma's a good friend of the show. Shouts out to Norma.
There's a lot of local coffee you can buy right now.
Well, you know what? I don't know where Norma is. But she brought Dunkin' on our interview. I think she brought the Dunkin'.
Good. Cool. Look, all coffee is good coffee.
All coffee is good. That's right. And also, good morning to Jen Mendoza as well. Much success going on out there. And I want to say good morning to Cottonseed Creative Exchange and Tyler, who just made it down to Texas. The time is 8:37, and you are listening. Morning, Aurora.
Yeah, you like that? We're episodes and seasons now. I don't know when we're going to start the new season, because I don't. It's fine. Next week's going to be like season 2.
Yeah.
We'll just mess with you.
That's how we roll, y'all. Real quick. So here's the thing, guys. Gentrification.
Yeah.
It's
not the other. It's not the.
It's real, and it has affected many communities, many. And what is gentrification, right? Does one business come into town spell the end of a community of color in a city, or is it just merely development? So let's talk craft urban, okay?
Yeah.
Aurora has endorsed a new deal with Craft Urban for downtown. Robert O'Connor, Alderman. Stoll. Craft Urban is trying to have that be a restaurant. There's a proposed amendment to the deal. The Aurora City Council Finance Committee recommended an amendment to their deal with owner Bernie Laskowski, who is bringing a version of his popular Geneva restaurant into downtown Aurora. The original agreement, first agreed to in December 2019 and finally approved in early April of last year, called $8,000 to be paid back over 10 years. Laskowski and Craft Urban would spend $300,000 on finishing the restaurant and about another $150,000 towards the purchase of the property. Now,
if you didn't catch all of that, that's the building we're talking about in downtown Aurora is, for you old timers, the Assels Photography, right? The corner of Stolp and Downer, right? And kind of where that little vacant spot that was a tiny little building and then became a big. So that is that's where it's going, where it's planned to go. I'll give it at least 1.5 thumbs up, right? I was actually just there last week for cocktails and dinner, and cocktails are amazing. They were really good. The pumpkin soup fell a little bit flat for me, but that's just because I once had Chef Amari's pumpkin soup.
that was the place that was on New York Street?
That was 33 West,
okay.
New York Street. We're going a little far back now, but good salad at Craft Urban, good cauliflower wings at Craft Urban. We had so it's a nice spot. It'll be a good asset to downtown Aurora, I think. The question though at hand is we've brought in Craft Urban, we've brought in Altiro, we brought in theoretically Stone Island Social if they reopen.
Right.
I actually never made it over there because I don't eat steak, but I
never made it there either.
I don't eat steak, but I'm sure it was delicious. And so, we're bringing in a lot of these restaurants that people really want, right? People like restaurants that offer something different. Does that contribute to gentrification is sort of the question.
Right.
A lot of different moving pieces, I think, because at the same time, you also have a lot of new housing coming in with higher rents than we have seen before in downtown Aurora. That is also true. Mm-hmm. And someone would say, oh my God, gentrification. Yeah, maybe. One of the proportion of people who are renting and the people who own their properties. Mm-hmm. So let's say you bring in a whole bunch of fancy stuff, right? And all the property values as a result go up, right? And landlords are charging more for their rentals. That is, then the people who have lived in this area for a very long time suddenly can't afford it, right? So we bring in all these fancy things, and then the owners of, say, the Galena Hotel realize, like, oh, we could actually turn this into like a legit hotel and charge a lot more for the room, and then suddenly the people who are living in the Galena Hotel, like, who are paying, $50 a week or something insanely low, don't have that option anymore, and you're driving those people out. That would be classic gentrification. Will that happen because of a couple of restaurants? That's kind of the question. Right. And the other piece of it is if you have a lot of owner-occupied buildings, mm-hmm. right? So maybe we do bring in a whole bunch of restaurants, but everybody around those new restaurants and businesses own their own properties. Maybe they own their own businesses. They own their own the properties that their businesses are in, they own their own homes, right? And you bring in all these restaurants and things like that, the value of their properties goes up and they actually benefit rather than getting pushed out. Now they realize like, oh, my house is worth a lot more. Maybe I'll sell it and move and retire, you know, or maybe I will just stay here forever and pass it on to my kids, and you start building wealth in the community. So I'm inclined, rather than to take a position on whether or not this new development in our downtown contributes to gentrification, I'm inclined to say more, that's not the question that we're asking. The question that we need to be asking is, how do we bring everybody with us, right? Because people want new restaurants, we want good coffee shops, and we want cute boutiques, and we want all of these things, right?
We also want inclusivity.
We want inclusivity. So maybe the answer is not like yes or no to bringing in these new businesses. Maybe the answer is more like, well, how do we make sure that the people who are living in our community are also getting economic opportunities that will allow them to stay in our community?
Sure.
Yeah.
To take part in, right.
So home ownership programs are a huge part of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like if you are putting money into developing properties to bring in new businesses, these fancier new restaurants or whatever, maybe you need to be putting in at least as much money into home ownership programs that get people into and staying in their homes. And historically, the city of Aurora has had many of those programs. It kind of ebbs and flows with available grant funding.
Right.
Maybe that needs to be more of a central principle of our development strategy.
And not just a one-off kind of thing.
Right. So home ownership programs, a lot of times they are predicated on available grant funding from HUD or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll help folks with down payment assistance for their properties. And I apologize because I don't know this off the top of my head, but it used to, whether these programs still exist, but the city of Aurora used to have programs where you bring a certain amount of money and you are under a certain economic threshold, we'll contribute some money also to your down payment.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, so there used to be down payment assistance programs, lots of different programs to help people fix up their homes. So it's sort of like, and this makes development more expensive but also more inclusive, is if you're putting, for every dollar that you put into developing these businesses and these bringing in and attracting these outside developers to build something big in downtown Aurora, if you're putting, maybe the answer is putting in another dollar for these home ownership programs, these other things, to make sure that people aren't getting lost along the way. There, I solved it.
The time.
I fixed gentrification. I made it way more expensive, though, to develop anything, and that's the bugaboo, right? That's, there's only $38 million floating around that we weren't expecting.
Only. The time is 8:47 a.m. and I like the dive that you took in there because I think that was really informative for people to understand, the moving parts, as you said, all of the stuff that's involved in that, and it's not just a one-off thing.
Yeah, when it comes down to it, people want to live in nice communities that have nice things like restaurants and shops and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Everybody wants that. Everyone deserves to live in a place that is nice.
Right.
But that's the thing, is that everyone deserves that. And so how do you approach economic development in a way that doesn't leave people behind?
So it's Friday the 19th, and it's 8:47 a.m. What you got going on this weekend? What's the plot for Jenette?
Jenette is actually volunteering at a MassVax.
Okay.
Down in Kendall County.
Nice.
So and that'll be a good chunk of my week. It's also where I come from. It's budget season. So in my professional life, so I'll be at a budget workshop all weekend, or all Saturday anyway. So
are those fun?
No. No, they're as boring as you think they are. But I would encourage. So budget season in Aurora is different. They pass a budget in December up here. I guess it's the same, but it's We will, as we get closer to budget season up here in Aurora. I think we'll spend some time with that. That'll be fun.
Good.
I can break down some budgets for you and explain kind of where things go.
Oh, hell yeah.
That'll
Hell yeah. When budget season is coming around, y'all, stay tuned.
Yeah.
Stay tuned. So we've got a great episode coming up for you guys. We're going to do some interviewing here. Check out yesterday's great episode with Pierre Lucero.
Pierre, shout out to
Great.
Pierre.
Shout out to Pierre.
Yeah.
Great episode yesterday.
He,
that was really good.
His mural is that one on the side of the furniture spot.
Do you know the name of it in Spanish?
The name of the furniture shop? Muebleria Sergio.
Very good. Very good. Oh, shit.
Look at that, 4 years of high school and undergrads.
Good job. All right. So we hope that you guys had a blessed, positive, great morning and experience with us. Jenettesplaining Part 2 is today, and next week we'll have Part 3. And this is a season thing, and we'll come up with a name for the season. We'll decide what season we want to call it. Have a positive weekend out there for all of you guys. Keep in mind that all those Easter initiatives start next week as well. So all that cool stuff we told you about Bike Bald.
The egg hunts.
The egg hunts.
If you want an egg hunt, if you want to find eggs, presumably with candy inside instead of yolks, check out our Facebook page for listings of all of those places you can find eggs.
Yes. And check out My Superpowers Foundation. Really good organization out there.
Go get some burritos.
Go get some burritos. Other than that, be blessed, be positive. Have a great weekend, and we will see you back here on the second largest city's first daily news podcast on Monday with Jenettesplaining, Friday of next week. Every Friday. Who that is? Great explanation on development. The answer is and, not or. Thank you, Greg. Much appreciated,
Greg.
sir. Much appreciated. That's what we try to. That's the whole purpose of Jenettesplaining, is to make the minutia of bureaucracy easy and fun to digest.
Yes.
Right. Right. You will want
and
to.
then I fix everything.
Yeah, exactly. And Jenette fixes shit. So there is no more homelessness. You can go out there.
There's no more homelessness and no more gentrification.
We have
fixed it all in this podcast. You're welcome.
Yep. So despite what you see, it's all done.
It's all done.
You guys have a great day. Subscribe to the show on Spotify and be sure to share with your friends. Thank you to our fans, listeners, and supporters.
Thanks, guys. Have a great weekend.
Peace.